think about making a purchase that I would need to go in debt for. So let's shift a little bit from, inventorying what you already have to, okay, I might want to make a purchase that's on a credit card, or I might want to purchase a home and need to get a mortgage. So I have 3 questions that I like to ask before I choose to access debt or not. And they are, does this help me meet my financial goals? What is the interest rate? And then will I be able to make payments in full each month? Or do I need to make a repayment plan for myself? So let's think about like a purchase of a car. So if I needed a car and I might be considering going in debt to purchase this car, let's apply these 3 questions to that scenario. So does this help me meet my financial goals? Okay, so I have my budget, I have my plan and my goals of where I'm going in the next few years financially. And so I have to ask myself, if I was going to take out a loan to buy a $10,000 or a $20,000 car, does that help me meet my other financial goals? Yes or no, right? What's the interest rate? So if I'm going to buy a $20,000 car at 7% interest, how much is that car really going to cost me? And then what will my payment be each month? Will I be able to pay that in full, or will I just be making a minimum payment on that? By going through those 3 questions with this car scenario, I might come to realize, you know what? I actually can't afford a $20,000 car. Maybe I need to buy a used car off of Craigslist that's more around $10,000, right? Then maybe I could get a loan if I need to make payments, or maybe, I can access some cash somewhere like that. So I like to use those 3 questions if I'm deciding whether I should go into debt for something or not. Have you guys ever thought about those kinds of questions or have something similar that you like to do?
I wanted to point out something that I really liked about your framework is that you looked at the true cost of the purchase. So not just the purchase price, but what it will truly cost with all of the interest factored in. I think that can be a very useful decision-making matrix, because you might feel comfortable paying 30,000 for a vehicle, but when you add the interest and it ends up being 40,000, that may be more than you want to allocate to that item. And that can be the same for even smaller purchases that end up on a credit card, is having a look at when can you realistically pay that off, and how much interest will you accrue to own that item, and is that worth it? So just wanted to, hop in and mention that the true cost is a really great factor.
I think that's what you said is so important. So first of all, I do think about those things, Sybil. When we make purchases, we will often like figure out what we think the payment would be on a debt and then plug it into our budget. And if we're like, no thanks, that makes things too tight, or nope, I'm going to have to pull money from all these different categories to cover that, and that makes these 3 categories way too tight. We're not comfortable with that. And maybe they're the fun categories, right? And we're like, well, we were putting this much money away every month toward travel, and now we'd only be able to put half. Okay, nope, that's not worth it. So plugging things in like that helps you make the decision, because for people who are visual, you can actually see where that money would be coming from. And I think that really helps. A lot of times to stick with your car example, we buy cars with our heart and our fun side, right? And we're like, it's going to be so fun to drive this, and the sound system is amazing, and these seats are so comfortable, and all these things, right? And I'm going to look so cute, I'm going to feel so fun driving this. And we're making these decisions with our heart and like how much fun it's going to be. And then when we plug it into the budget, we're like, and put the brakes on. I'm just going to be driving by myself down the street because that's all I'm going to be able to afford. So I think like putting it in there so you can actually see it and visualize it and like feel what is that amount of money going to do to my month every month, that makes a huge difference. And then backtracking or sideways stepping over to Mary Lee's comment about interest, I think that is if I would have like thinking about credit card debt and just swiping your card to pay for things, to me, that type of debt is not the kind of debt I want to accrue, right? I don't want the debt that I am paying just for things that I want. And if people were to think about in the moment that every single month I don't pay off this sweater, I'm going to pay an additional 25% of interest on this sweater. Sometimes if your debt goes on forever and you're only paying the minimum payment, you're paying more than the sweater is worth, right? In the end. And I think that that's something that we just wash right out of our minds in the moment, because it's so easy not to think about it because it's not on the receipt. And so I think interest is something really important to consider. I love that you like highlighted that.
Well,
Yeah.
this is where financial literacy is really critical for people to understand, because you're making these decisions that aren't just a today decision. It has an impact on your finances for months and years down the road. So just making sure that you understand what debt you're going into and how that will impact your finances is really it's just really critical to do. And I wanted to mention one other aspect about debt, and that is that debt can also be used as a tool to build your wealth. So I'm nearing 50, and I've definitely had times in my life where debt was used to just purchase things that I needed. And one thing that always stands out for me is buying furniture. Furniture is very expensive when you buy it brand new, and it's not worth very much if you try to resell it. And I definitely had times where I needed to buy things, and I spent a little more than I probably would knowing what I know now. But I've reached this time point where I really use debt strategically to either invest in stocks or to maintain real estate. And then the third area where I'm using debt is also to build my business. So I'll take on some debt strategically if there's something in my business that I think will earn a good return. So debt doesn't like debt. That's where debt can be like just a tool to accelerate the growth of your wealth and your investments.